As the sum of each generation before it, the next generation Corvette stands alone as the new standard of precision and performance, of engineering and technology, of everything that makes an icon, and a Corvette, a Corvette.
The Z51 is a performance package that takes the goodness of the Stingray road car and elevates it to a hardcore racetrack beast. The Z51 package includes a lot of performance-enhancing items, like tires that are more racetrack-oriented, brakes are larger, we add a Z51 specific front splitter and a Z51 specific spoiler. The electronic limited slip differential is a huge performance enabler, and it goes on and on. Seeing the Z51 package at work is amazing because we've already exceeded where the current car is. We've got the Z51 now to a level where we're in new territory for the car. We're positioned to rock the world with this one.
Drivers can now raise the front of their Corvette almost 2 inches in less than 3 seconds with the available front lift. This allows you to clear low obstacles such as speed bumps or steep driveways with the help of a 2-position hydraulic lifter. While it can be manually activated, it can also be programmed to remember the GPS locations of up to 1,000 obstacles throughout your commute so that you don't, for example, have to remember to activate it every time you arrive home to a steep driveway. It's an interesting bit of history to look back and see how we decided to move away from our comfort zone and started working on a mid-engine car. I think a lot of the leadership thought we want to go to mid-engine because it's cool, because the most exotic sports cars in the world were mid-engine, but actually we were doing it because we felt like we were reaching the limit of our performance capability in the architectures that we had, and so we had to do something to move that forward. We put together the compelling arguments why it would make sense to at least study. We ended up presenting to a lot of top leadership to get a critical mass of them on board to say, you know what, these guys might be onto something.
When I first heard that they were gonna make the new Corvette mid-engine, really it was a game changer.
The easiest way to describe it in a single word would be frightening. It's a daunting responsibility. We've had such success, and here we are making this fundamental shift in the car that if we don't do right, we potentially do something terrible to this great legacy of a brand.
We're bordering on 70 years of this vehicle. So you have this lineage to it that you have to maintain, but you also have to be willing to grow and take it further.
From a design standpoint, the vehicle had to be incredibly beautiful, and at the end of the day, when you step back and look at it, it has to say Corvette.
Everything's backwards on a mid-engine car. You can't move one thing in the inside of the car without affecting a whole bunch of other things. When you put the engine in the back, you actually want to think about moving stuff forward. So to get the right amount of weight on the front, you actually have to move those front wheels rearward. From the driver's perspective, having less weight on the front wheels means you need less boost in the steering, which means more tactile feedback, so more direct steering. You're not sitting out in the periphery and the car rotates about a point distant from you. The car is rotating about you, and that's a very different driving experience.
With the mid-engine attributes, you'd have the rear weight bias from the engine for better acceleration, performance, and track times, as well as the low forward cowl for excellent visibility, and the lighter front, which really makes the car fun to drive.
That helps for driver confidence. It helps to get the car around the track safer and faster. Corvette prides itself on being a very light, very stiff vehicle, and we from the beginning said we want to take the Corvette formula and apply all that goodness to a mid-engine architecture. We didn't want to fall into the trap where the car gets hard to drive, and that's been the problem we've been working to solve for the last 14 years.
What we've developed is a car that really delivers that sort of balance between delivering a modern sports car driving experience and yet delivers the comfort, isolation, and the ability to drive the car on almost any road in any weather.
When we finally got to the track, I just burst out laughing because it was like, oh my God, that's what we wanted. You come into corner, you hard brake, you whip the wheel around, it turns on a dime, and then you can get right on the gas, and it's just so easy to drive. You could write a book about what Corvette means to all different segments of society. Corvette is an emotional driving experience. No matter who you are in life, when you get into a Corvette, you're a superhero.
A vehicle like the Corvette has very demanding track requirements, so we need a world-class lubrication system. A conventional vehicle has a passive system where oil that's distributed through the engine passively drains back from the various places of the engine and is ultimately collected in the oil pan. In a dry sump system, the oil is actively harvested by scavenge pumps and forcibly pumped from the engine out to an external reservoir. At high engine speeds, every time an engine rotates, the gas wind velocities in the crankcase will actually exceed 100 miles per hour. That tornado of wind causes the oil to froth.
When you have a dry sump system, it also gives you confidence that you can take the inertial loads that you encounter on a track. You know, the oil sloshing around in turns or overheaves, and really make sure that you can maintain oil pressure at the critical lubrication points in the engine while you're really working it hard and really working it hot. The reason we made it standard in this generation car is it allowed us to lower the engine and transmission as low as possible, and this really lowers the center of gravity of the car, which helps in handling.
That lower position enables us to mount directly to the new DCT transaxle to have direct alignment for us to take the energy from the engine and transmit it directly through the transmission into the rear axle. Corvette never disappoints. All your worries go away with one strike of the accelerator pedal.
We've had customers asking us for a long time for a DCT.
The DCT stands for dual clutch transmission.
In a traditional car, while you're shifting, the car is actually decelerating because the engine is not connected to the wheels. So we said we needed a bespoke transmission, custom designed for this car, because we have engines that produce massive amounts of torque, so the DCTs that are on the shelf wouldn't stand the Corvette duty cycle.
The transmission team worked with the chassis team to fit the transmission into a package that allowed us to essentially lower the center of gravity, which helps in overall performance.
A dual clutch transmission is effectively two manual gearboxes that have clutches actuated by computers on a concentric shaft. So what that really means is you've got a shaft that has your even forward gears, 2, 4, 6, 8, and your odd gears, 1, 3, 5, 7. And you can simultaneously be disengaging one shaft while you're engaging the other one. So it's quicker than a human being could shift a manual transmission. This way you get the lightning fast, less than 100 milliseconds shift when you need it. We've also found that during very aggressive launches, we can actually drive torque through both shaft clutches simultaneously. So you'll be on an upshift, engaging third gear, but still driving torque through second as you're engaging third. This actually improves the 0 to 60 performance of the car beyond what you could achieve in a manual transmission.
When we finally got to the track with real physical hardware, some of us were holding our breath. We were a little bit nervous.
The first drive in the car wasn't honestly the most inspiring thing. There's a lot of work we have to do. We will often break things that we honestly didn't expect to break. Track testing really is the essence of what drives our team to achieve things we haven't in the past. If you have a deep relationship with the car that you've developed on the racetrack, where you've pushed it to and beyond its limit, you find it opens up this whole window of your brain where you can feel things happening in the car that you would never notice before.
Part of what we're trying to achieve here is to make sure that we could fully integrate, fully tune all aspects of the car. The components are all there, the hardware is well baked, there's a lot of calibration work that's required, and we are now taking that final 80% to the finished, polished product.
If you talk to our ride and handling engineers and our chassis control engineers, they live in that car. That is their office space. That's literally where they go to work every day.
So the big thing we had to adapt to was our tuning style and how we adapt to a new center of gravity location and how we can take advantage of all the rear tire that this car has.
Been on different test tracks and had a chance to slide the car around, drift it a little bit on our vehicle dynamic test area. That was very exciting. I've had a chance to ride along on our durability test where we really punished the car on Belgian blocks and gravel roads and thousands of miles of stuff that a normal Corvette owner would never subject their car to. I've had a chance to be in the car at our cold weather test site on ice and snow where we're challenging the stability systems and chassis controls to deliver great performance. And you think about, it's just a couple years ago, we were looking at some computer renderings on a screen as the initial bones for the car. Here it is, you know, a very compelling three-dimensional machine working at this level. And it was just, it was sort of, for me, the point that I know we had really completed the mission that we had set out to do.
About a month ago, we were at the track, and I thought, well, this is the last time this is going to be a new thing for me. This is when I get out of the car in 45 minutes after a tank of fuel, this is going to be the Corvette. And it's not going to be the new Corvette, it's going to be the Corvette. That, for me, was the moment where I saw the real light switch on the mid-engine architecture, was that it's just so easy to be fast and to have fun.